Alright, so here is the story of my first AR, my first AR-15. So, long story short, you know, I had ordered this rifle off of Gun Broker, and it was listed as new, and it was listed new from a relatively large seller. I looked at how many they had for sale. We're talking a couple thousand. Um, I think like 16,000 reviews or 1,600 positive reviews. So, reputable seller. Anyways, I had bought this firearm, from them. My FFL received it. First of all, he said the packaging was garbage. I'm not going to throw out who it was on Gunbroker, but yeah, I don't know the best way to lead you on to know who it was without being a jerk, so I'm not going to. Um, but I digress. Anyways, I pick it up. I go to the range. It's not ejecting. It is not extracting. Um, so it's not pulling the case out from the chamber. It's not ejecting, even if it does pull it out. If it pulls it out, it's not loading, it's not feeding. The next round is getting jammed up in there. And I'm getting maybe 2 shots off max, consecutive rounds off, with brass. I tried a 10 round mag, a 15 I think round mag, or 20, I don't remember. I tried a 30. Uh, Nothing was making a difference. Steel mags, polymer mags, nothing was making a difference. Um, the only thing that was making a difference was honestly steel case ammo. I was getting maybe between 3 and 5 consecutive shots off of before I had that issue, or one of those issues. And so, anyways, I went to multiple gun stores in the state of New Hampshire. I went to what I believe might be one of the biggest stores actually in the state. I went there, had somebody there, air quotes, one of their gunsmiths, give it a quick once over. He couldn't figure out what was wrong. Basically said contact the seller. You might need to figure out if you can return it. Blah 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 blah. Anyways, long story short, they couldn't figure it out. Right? That's the moral of this story that I'm about to tell. They couldn't figure it out. So I went to a second gun store. Now this is a smaller place, owner operator kind of place. He could not figure it out. Now again, he didn't spend as much time on it, but he couldn't figure it out. And he didn't have any real pointers, so it was kind of a waste of time. Then I went to another relatively big firearm store, actually up in the Lakes region area. Now, here they actually had an indoor firing range. And they tested out a little bit, blah, 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 blah. And then this air quotes, these are actually bigger air quotes, gunsmith, right? He starts saying, oh, you need a new barrel, you need a new gas tube, it's this, it's that, this is not an adjustable gas tube, and blah, 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 blah. And I don't know, this barrel's weird. And then I found out the barrel is actually a completely normal barrel, from who I ended up bringing it to actually find what the issue was. So, anyways, he starts saying it's a weird barrel, it's a weird this, it's a weird that, and this whole time I'm thinking this is like a palmetto, right? Like this is not weird. This is whatever this is standard. Now this is my first AR, so I'm not too knowledgeable at this stage, but I know that it sounds off, right? So he says I need a new buffer tube, or a new buffer, not buffer tube, but a new buffer. He says I need a new barrel. He says I need a new gas block. He says I might need a new gas tube. All this stuff. Anyways, he has on the counter basically more than what I bought the rifle for on the counter. And then says, I can do the work for you if you want, blah, 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 blah. And right before I literally had my card out, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go contact the seller. I'm sorry, I'm not buying this. And he was a little frustrated, but was like, whatever, bring it back when you're ready to fix that piece of junk, right? So, anyways, I'm never shopping there again because of what I found out the issue was. So, anyways, plus the way he was treating me, and it was just about selling stuff there. So, I'm never going there again. So, anyways, I contacted the seller and I said, look, here's the issue. is this used? What's the deal? So they reply actually relatively quickly, like within an hour. And they send me a message or an email, I don't remember which, and they say, okay, so this is a Palmetto lower kit or whatever. So it's all Palmetto. The upper is a Bear Creek Arsenal. Both were brand new. So they said it is new, it has not been fired, they disassemble them and resell. So anyways, I'm like, okay. So it's a Bear Creek Arsenal upper, Palmetto lower. Okay. So anyways, I then go to, actually in the same town as that place that tried selling me stuff, I go to another store. This one's relatively small. Again, like, kind of like the second place I went to, like an owner-operator kind of place. So I go here, right? And I say what the issue is. And this is my first time going here, right? I say, this is what the issue is. Can you figure it out? He puts it on the table, right? He pops out the back pin with the upper pivots from the lower, and he tilts up the upper. And I swear to God, it's within 30 seconds that he finds the issue, and it's as if he put it there. The surgical just precision of what he did, it's as if he put it there. He pops that pin out, lifts up the upper, he pulls out the bolt carrier group. He looks at a few things, and then within 30 seconds of me handing him the gun, he looks at me with a smile and says, "What caliber is your rifle?" And I'm like, what? So I say, 5.56, and he goes, "Are you sure about that?" And I'm like, I hope so, because I've been shooting 5.56 and 2.23 out of it, so I hope it's a 5.56. And then he says, "You have a 6.5 Grendel bolt." And I'm like, I don't know what that is, right? So I'm relatively new to all this. I'm like, I don't know what 6.5 Grendel is. I don't know what that is. What's that? And he goes, hold on a second. So then he comes out with another bolt, right? And he says, do you see the difference? And I didn't see the difference right away. I said, well, this one has a bunch of like brass. It's brass right on the face of it. He goes, no, look at the walls. And then he points out, I'm using one that's significantly wider with thinner walls than a 5.56 bolt. And he says, that's your issue. Whoever assembled this put a 6.5 Grendel bolt in the carrier when they put together this upper kit, or put together this rifle. And I'm like, what? So anyways, he then actually makes a deal. He says, I'll keep... Oh, and anyways, he did check the buffer. The buffer actually was, the little padded part that hits the back of the buffer tube was actually destroyed, so he did actually say I do need a buffer. So, the other shop was right about that one part. So anyways, he says, I'll give you a buffer, and I'll give you a used 5.56 bolt for free. Don't worry about it, but I want to keep your 6.5 Grendel bolt. Why? Why do I want to keep it? Because I want to show people this, right? He's like, this is kind of like a little trophy for me. I'm happy I was able to find this issue for you. How many gun stores did you bring this to again? I said 3, and he goes, exactly. This makes me happy. I want to keep this. So, anyways, I make the deal. I take the rifle, go to the range, and it works again. Works fine. It works fine. No issues. So, long story short, what I kind of learned here is, one, I don't think everybody knows everything now at gun stores. I think if you're going to get into this as a hobby, or if you're in this as like an enthusiast, you really should have, because this is now the only store I go to at this point. Any problems I have, any new stuff I get, I just go here. I don't even deal with other stores. And I've found my go-to, right? You should find your go-to, right? Find whatever FFL you work with the best, and just that's who you do business with. That's my personal opinion. At least that's how I'm going to be from now on. And what I've learned is, I didn't know what Bear Creek Arsenal was. I looked them up. I'm like, okay, this is a very cheap company. And again, from what the seller said, the bolt and the upper were from them, and it was put right on it. So I can't guarantee that that's true, because I didn't assemble it. but they were a reputable, very reputable seller on the platform. So I can only take their word as true. And if that is true, then Bear Creek Arsenal, you have a quality control issue. You should not be putting 6.5 Grendel bolts in a 5.56 gun, because from what I've learned now from that interaction, what he taught me was, he said, how did this not blow up in your face? How many rounds did you put through this? And I said, well, probably about 100, you know, at a time, or trying to fix it. I lubed the crap out of it, everything. And he goes, holy crap, how did this not blow up in your face? And then he says, do you have an old cartridge? And unfortunately, I don't think I have a photo of it, but he says, can I see the old cartridge? And I do have an old cartridge. And he goes, you see the case bottom, the bottom of it. Do you see how it's bulged out? It's because it wasn't seated properly, because it's not tight in that bolt. That could have, in theory, blown up and destroyed the firearm and hurt you. So, anyways, yeah. So at that point, I was kind of like, what? I just got this, and you're saying that whole time this could have been potentially blowing up my face? And he's like, basically. So that was my first experience with Gunbroker, and that was my first experience with my first AR. And all I can say is, if you get an upper from Bear Creek Arsenal, or if you get a firearm that is from Gunbroker, that is on the budget, cheaper end, have a gunsmith look at it, a reputable one, or at least make sure you're like wearing eye protection and ear protection and all that stuff, because now I'm weary of this. And I don't know if Bear Creek Arsenal has done this for other people. I don't know if this is an issue that other people have had, but I'm not going to be buying Bear Creek Arsenal. And if I do, I'm going to have him look at it first. Make sure it's safe, because this, looking back, was very unsafe. So anyways, that was the story of my first AR, and why I don't know if I would trust a Bear Creek Arsenal. Thank you, and have a good day.